The Matrix and Inception. One of the things that I started thinking about after talking about how to write action using The Matrix as an example was its similarities to Inception and some of the differences between the two movies. And one of the differences, of course, is the point of view of the character and the point of view of the story. So who's the story told through? And in The Matrix, it's very clearly Neo's story. Neo is our protagonist. He goes down the rabbit hole and he wants to find out what's real and what isn't real. And he's told that he's the one. So the clean line of action in the movie of where we're going is he the one or not the one? Is he somebody who can save humanity from its enslavement in the Matrix? Inception, the main character is Leonardo DiCaprio's character, who also has a want and a clean line of action, which is to see his kids again. And he wants to basically escape this nightmare that is his life, where he is charged with murder and can't see his children and is haunted by grief and guilt. So that clean line of action is fine, but the world of Inception, like the world of The Matrix, is quite complicated, and for the audience to understand it, there's a lot of telling that has to be done, a lot of what we call exposition, information that the audience needs in order for the plot to make sense.
There's nothing I can say that will explain it for you, Neo. Come with me. See for yourself.
And in The Matrix, it's done quite naturally because it's Neo's point of view. It's his point of view. It's his need to know in order to achieve what he needs to achieve.
Do you think you're the one?
Honestly, I don't know.
To find out whether or not he is the one. In Inception, our main character pretty much knows what he needs to do. He understands even the concept of the inception itself, which everyone says, oh, you can't do that, it's impossible. He says, no, it's possible.
True inspiration's impossible to fake.
It's not true. Can you do it?
Are you offering me a choice?
So he's totally in the know of everything. He doesn't know how to achieve, getting to his children, which is the story of Inception, but he certainly knows the world of the dreams that he inhabits. So the audience needs to know at this point. So the audience needing to know, he creates Christopher Nolan, the writer, creates these characters who are sort of sounding boards in order for us to understand what's going on. So they're always asking questions, and at the beginning of the film, there's an original architect of the dreams who is fired basically because he didn't have the realism of the rug, which anyone who's seen the film, you'll understand.
Which means I'm not lying on my carpet in my apartment.
So he gets fired, and our protagonist needs a new architect. So he hires a character, Ariadne, to come in as the architect of these dream worlds.
I'd like you to meet Mr. Cobb.
Pleased to meet you.
If you have a few moments, Mr. Cobb has a job offer he'd like to discuss with you.
Work placement?
Not exactly.
Now, the only problem with this character is that she doesn't seem to really have a stake in the movie. She's interested. She wants the job. She's fascinated by everything that's going on, although she doesn't seem to be at all disturbed of what the world that she's going into. But she doesn't seem to really have a stake in it for herself. Like, what is it in it for you? Like, he wants to see his children again. What do you want exactly? And that becomes sort of one of the sort of flaws of the film. Not a fatal flaw, of course. I'm not here to knock the movie. It's a good movie, and it's a hard movie to create because in science fiction, anything that has a lot of information like that needs a lot of exposition, which means the audience generally was going to get bored. It's just too much telling me of what's going on as opposed to me experiencing it. So it's a juggling act anytime you make a movie like The Matrix or Inception.
This is the world that you know. The world as it was at the end of the 20th century. It exists now only as part of a neural interactive simulation that we call the Matrix.
You're juggling this audience's need to know with keeping a pace and interest in the story itself.
Let me ask you a question. You never really remember the beginning of a dream, do you? You always wind up right in the middle of what's going on.
I guess, yeah.
So how did we end up here?
Well, we just came from the,
Think about it, Ariadne. How did you get here?
And The Matrix, I think, is just more successful at it, simply for the fact that the main character, Neo, needs to know. And its supporting characters, I think, are stronger as well. And Morpheus.
As long as the Matrix exists, the human race will never be free.
And Morpheus is very interesting because if you wanted to tell The Matrix again, when you're talking about character's point of view, you could tell the story of The Matrix through the point of view of Morpheus. So if you start off as he is the main character, bringing somebody into his world, and then explaining that world to them, trying to find out if they are the one, you could do that. It might not be as strong a story. It seems to be pretty strong with Neo being the main character, but it's something you can do. Now, in terms of villains, Matrix has Agent Smith, who really is sort of the personification of the Matrix.
The other life is lived in computers, where you go by the hacker alias Neo and are guilty of virtually every computer crime we have a law for.
He's a lot like the Terminator or Yul Brynner's character in Westworld. Where he's basically a robot who is hell-bent on killing you, period. There's no nuance. There's no way to reason with it. It wants you to be dead, and it's going to kill you. Inception, I think, has a more problematic villain because I don't know who the villain is. And the more I think about it, I think of it as Maul, his wife who's died, who shows up in the dreams. She's quite menacing, and she does seem to be the antagonist in the movie.
Carl! Wake me up! Wake me up! Wake me up! Wake me up!
Which is really a neat idea, because she is really just a personification of him. Is he's created her out of his guilt and memories, and she haunts him in these dream states. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of a neat idea that this antagonist is really his own creation. He's his own antagonist.
Admit it. You don't believe in one reality anymore. So choose. Choose to be here. Choose me.
But in terms of the actual plot of the Inception itself, getting this guy to break up a company or something or other, it doesn't seem like like the audience is like, oh yeah, you better do that, or else, the world's going to be in a really rough place.
We are the last company standing between them and total energy dominance. We can no longer compete. Soon they'll control the energy supply of half the world. In effect, they become a new superpower. The world needs Robert Fisher to change his mind.
So, it's much more personal for the main character to reach his goal, and for us, the consequences to the characters around him don't seem to be that important. Whereas in The Matrix, we're all in the Matrix, all of us. So for Neo to succeed is to free us all. And that is a stronger idea, if you want to compare the two movies. But, there's lots of room in the universe for two movies that are like this sort of mind-bending films. I think Dark City is a nice example, too, of a film that goes into strange places, and a movie that I liked more and more every time I saw it. It's such a funky, again, time-bending movie. And reality versus not reality, all those sorts of things are in Dark City as well. So a really good trilogy of films to watch. And like I said, it's not saying one's better than the other. You can like whatever movie you like the most the way you like a movie. There's no one telling you can't. But it's interesting to look at it from a point of view of a writer, and say what are the challenges to doing a movie a certain way. What are the challenges to Inception and to Nolan to tell that story? And it's one of those things when as a writer you start writing it, and then you start getting into those challenges. You're like, oh yeah, geez, I never thought of that. And how's the audience going to even know this? So you end up creating these characters, and I think like I said, Matrix has better sort of archetypal characters that are in the story with Neo and Morpheus, like Trinity, and even the minor characters like Mouse or Dozer or Tank are great, and Cypher, who betrays them all. There's so many good characters in the Matrix that I think when you look at Inception, I don't see the same sort of relationship.
We're in.
Because everyone is sort of in service of the heist. But even for a heist movie, they normally have like, you're the safecracker, and you're the kung fu ninja, and you're this and you're that, and they have these sort of archetypes in those films. Not that you need to follow archetypes, but still, the characters could be stronger, I think, in the supporting roles. Great supporting actors, just got to give them more to do, I suppose. Anyway, that's my 2 bits for today. Hopefully there's no controversy with that. Just looking at how you tell a story. Have a good day.